Hey gang, East Coast Lumberjack. And today's video is looking at handles. Okay, and not just wooden handles. All kinds of different handles. So, as you know, if you've been following my channel at all, I like wooden handles. And of course I manufacture wooden handles here. I use hickory and ash specifically for my handles. And I use very straight grain. I split them all out by hand. And we'll talk a little bit more about those after a bit. Okay? So I want to go over the advantages and disadvantages of the different kinds of handles. Because there's a number of different handles. And they have their strengths and they have their weaknesses. So that's the first one, okay? Wooden handles, we're all quite familiar with. Now there's a few other kinds. Look at this bird here, okay? Now this one here, I'm not sure where he got them made. Berlin Nickerson had these made here a while ago. This is a fiberglass handle. I love the shape of this handle. And it's got a beautiful, see the palm swell down here? Like it's not going out of your hands. So that's the second kind we're going to talk about, okay? Fiberglass. The third kind, which is in a lot of your hardware store handles, is a composite. It has a core in the middle that's fiberglass. It has plastic along most of the handle and then rubber on the bottom part of the handle. And as far as breaking, you'd think that this baby here is a pretty tough thing to break. Okay, longevity is what really, takes your eye to that handle. This is the last one here, okay? It's actually hollow. It's plastic. It's got this funny little knob down here at the end that's palm swell. But again, effectiveness, pretty impressive. So, these are the handles we're going to talk about today, okay? 4 different types of handles. Now, probably, I would say, and there's ways to improve this, but I would say the weakest of the bunch is wood. And I love wood handles. Okay, I make them, I promote them. The advantage that the wooden handle has is you can change it. Okay, so if the palm swell's not quite perfect, you can rasp it down. You can make it fit a little bit better. If it breaks, you can replace it. Okay. And that comes down to the wedging, okay? So how we fit this onto the, most axes have eyes, of course. We shape this to fit the eye, put our wedge in it, and then, of course, if something goes sideways with it, that can come out. We can put a second one in, okay? So, and we talk about that like it's no big deal, but I'll tell you, that's a huge advantage, and you're going to find out why when you talk about these other handles, okay? But that is a huge advantage of this. This one needs more maintenance, okay? You should actually put some linseed oil or tung oil or something on this, walnut oil, to protect it, okay? It'll last longer if you do that. And of course, water and sunlight are not your friend with these if they're left out into the weather, okay? So wood does have its disadvantages, no question about it, okay? So the advantages, I would say, is that they're easy to replace. The disadvantages are they take a little bit more care, and they're not quite as tough. So let's be honest, that's really the long and the short of a wooden handle. Now the other ones, these other handles, I would say are all tougher. Okay, they're a tougher product. They'll take a little bit more abuse, and they'll withstand a lot more forces. In IMHO, in my not so humble opinion. So now this fiberglass handle, man, when I first time I saw this handle, I said, baby, I want to get a pile of those. Because they are shaped, I love the shape of them. They're a lot wider. They're lengthwise this way, and they're narrow here, okay? So I really like the shape for a chopping handle. And again, the palm swell down here, second to none. I love this. Now, those are good. So number one, they're tougher. Number two, great palm swell. Okay, beautiful. Number three, don't have to worry about weather with them. Okay, so those things. those things are all big pluses for this kind of a handle. Now, a couple of drawbacks I want to mention to you. Okay, first of all, if they break, they're not so easy to replace. They're actually quite difficult to replace. Now, I'm going to get to that in just a second. The other thing, if you get a little bit of a, now I'm not sure if you've ever used one of these things, fiberglass much, but if you get a sliver of this in your hand, I want to tell you, pal, it hurts. Now, thankfully, I've never had one, and I think if you sand it frequently and make sure it's nice and smooth, that'll keep it at a minimum. But it can happen. Now, the biggest disadvantage of this handle, and again, I really like this handle, but I've never bought them because you cannot shape these, okay? They come out at a certain size, and then what you have to do, when that goes into your axe eye, you then have to melt a product, okay? And whether it's plastic or whatever it is, the what's it called? Heat guns, okay? The glue from a heat gun glue. And you put that in there, and basically you have to heat it up, and then you have to hold your axe head so that it's perfectly aligned. Now, a lot of people don't realize that, but just so that you know, the bit of your axe, okay? So the bit of your axe, the length of your bit needs to be lined with the center of your palm swell, okay? They need to be in a perfect line, okay? So that means that when you're holding your axe handle this way, the blade is facing exactly where your handle's pointing. That's the first thing. The second thing you need to make sure is that the toe and the heel and this part of the palm swell are in a straight line. And when that's in a straight line, when you swing your axe, the center of your arc will strike the wood where it's supposed to, okay? So if it's tipped a little this way or tipped a little that way, your axe is not going to perform like it should, okay? You're not going to get optimum penetration. You're not getting optimum use of your axe at all, okay? So those things matter a lot when you're hanging an axe. Doesn't matter whether it's an axe like this or a wooden handle. Whatever the handle is, those things matter, okay? So your blade needs to be in the middle of your palm swell, right like that. And of course, the toe, the heel, and right here need to be in a straight line. So, the issue with these handles is, as much as I like them, it's a wicked pain to hang them. And then it's an even bigger pain to take them out. So, this handle did come. The guy wanted it replaced. So we put a wooden handle in. And again, I had to heat this up and monkey around. And then once it gets liquidy, it stays inside the eye of your axe, okay? So I had to keep heating it and try to get it cleaned out as best I could. It took a long time, okay? And actually, it was such a pain that for that pain, almost wasn't worth the advantage of this. So, and of course, when it comes like that, if you don't like the shape of it, you're beat, because that's all it is, okay? What the shape you get is what you get. So those are the advantages and disadvantages of the fiberglass handle. Now, the third handle that we have are these ones, okay? And these are pretty tough, I will say that. But I have seen a pile of these busted. And I think why, now if I was to, I don't think it's because they're not as tough as we think they are. I think it's because we think they're tougher than they actually are. And we put a lot of abuse, we abuse these a lot, okay, because they are so tough, and they have plastic, and we think, man, this thing's indestructible. Well, then we realize, okay, it is destructible. And then once it's destroyed, we're back to the same problem of hanging it, okay? So to rehang this is next to impossible. The only way to do it is, again, if you're good with, what's it called? The plastic stuff that you use in tables and that. If you're good with that, then you actually you'll be decent at this, okay? But again, the same thing, you've got to line everything up, fill your eye with that plastic, molten plastic, and then of course let it harden. And then you're off to the races again another time. But again, it is so much easier to replace a wooden handle than it is these ones here. For the toughness, we think we're gaining, and of course I don't think you can. I've never seen a replacement handle like this in the stores. Okay, so you can't buy a replacement handle. So it all comes down to the eye. Okay, it all comes down to the eye and how you get that thing to fit again. Okay, and getting it all lined up. So again, this one here, weather doesn't bother it. It is pretty darn tough. It's smooth on your hand. But again, the drawback, it comes down to when it breaks, what are you going to do with it? Now, my Fiskars. And I won this, okay? The reason I own a Fiskars is because I won it. And I didn't know what to make of it. Now, I will tell you one thing. This thing holds a pretty impressive edge, I'll tell you that. So, I like that. It's got a really pronounced bit on it, okay? It's good for splitting. But we're talking handles. So, what I will say, this palm swell is awesome. You can't let go of it, okay? One, huge advantage. Two, it's hollow. It makes it light, okay? Another advantage. The third advantage, it's tough. I've pried with this. I've wailed away with this thing. I use this probably more than I care to admit. So it's pretty tough. I'm very impressed. And it's a good thing it is tough. Because I want you to look at how it's hung. The plastic comes up. Then it goes the whole way around the outside of this metal piece. Okay, the metal head. So if this, now it hasn't broke yet. I'm still not 100% sure how it all goes together up top here. But I know one thing. When it breaks, you're not replacing it. And I could be wrong. Maybe there is a way to replace these that I'm not aware of yet. But the other good thing is it's tough. So the disadvantages, again, now there's a couple. I'll give you a couple disadvantages with this one. Unlike this plastic one, that if it doesn't quite fit your hand, you can probably shape this one a little bit. This is hollow, okay? And I was using it today to whittle down a few blocks of wood that I'm turning out on my duplicarver to make PV handles. And I realized, oh man, it's too fat up here next to the top for me to do this with. But I can't reshape it. So another huge disadvantage to this is I can't change the shape of the handle. And I know it's wide up here for a reason to keep it from busting. But of course the problem is when I'm using it as a shorter hatchet, it doesn't fit my hand well. Okay, my forearms and stuff get tired very quickly because it takes so much strength to hold onto it up here because it's so much bigger. So that's a disadvantage I see of the Fiskars. Number one, of course, so they all the non-wooden handles have the disadvantage of hanging. Okay, that's where things really go out the window with them. Yes, they're tough, and I think because they are so tough, we likely abuse them, and they break a little bit earlier than what they normally would. We take a little bit more care with a wooden handle. Now, it doesn't matter to me because I make them, so I abuse them all equally. But I have had these handles laying around, and I thought I actually should. Somebody told me, they said, Rod, do a video on the different kinds of handles and the advantages and disadvantages. So that's exactly what I've done. Okay, so they all have their strengths, but they have their weaknesses, and the most common weakness, of course, of the non-wood handles is when it comes to hanging. So, in my humble opinion, not so humble opinion, now this handle here, I made this one for my son. It feels as good as this one here, okay, because they're almost identically shaped. And it feels really good in my hand. It's got a great palm swell down here. And the thing is, with a wooden handle, if that's what you like, make it that way. How tough is that? So just make what you want. And that's what we did with this one. So it's the only thing is, it's just a whisker long for Nate's chopping axe. So we pulled it out, but of course I saved it. Now this is the advantage. See, I drilled the wedge, and I used a screwdriver and just popped those different little pieces out, and now that whole thing is ready to be used again. That's weird. Look how, now that's funny. I think I even hung this. I must have had a long eye on this. That's all I have for a wedge slot. That's very abnormal for me. Usually my wedge slot is half to 3/4 of the way down there. So of course, before I reuse this, I'm gonna make that slot, the wedge slot, a lot deeper on this handle. And you can see what happens because it wasn't deep enough. See, it started to split there. But thankfully, it was so tight on both sides, of course, nothing gave way. So that was a good thing about it. Now I'm going to reuse this. I'm going to put it in one of my other axes. Not a chopping axe, because again, it's too long for me, but I am going to put that in likely in one of my splitters. Because I love this handle. It's in great shape. So that's this week's video. The different types and styles of handles, the advantages and disadvantages to all of them. And really, it comes down to how she's hung. So that's why I think the wooden ones are really, if you get the shape that you want, it's a heck of a lot easier when it comes to once they break. So anyways, stay tuned. Lots coming again next week.